Folks, Jeff Shepard here in Roaches. It's time for bow season. September 12th, we got everything here that you can possibly need. We got seed. This is Food Pot Central, folks. We got everything you need from fertilizer and on. Even the stuff to plant your food, we got implements and everything. As you can see from the picture, Wild Game Innovations. They make great cameras. We got feeders. We got the batteries. Anything that goes with them, from your remotes to your chargers and even solar chargers. Got everything from Wild Game Innovations. Come check us out, Roach Farm and Garden, River Bridge and in Wrightsville.
People ask me about, Congress and what it's about, but y'all don't worry, because frankly, on every vote, I talk to Guy Cochran. And if I don't call him, he calls me. And he says, "What were you thinking?" So anyway, Guy, thank you for your counsel and your friendship, and I know Miss Tina keeps you straight, so I'm okay there. But Guy's been a great advisor, and of course, Guy and I got to know each other through our girls. We've got two of the most precious daughters. I call them baby daughters, but we got two of the most precious children that God created, and we're very proud of them. Let me tell you a little bit. Because everybody asks, "What's the biggest surprise?" And obviously, it's overwhelming. Things had to happen so fast, but we got very fortunate right off the bat. And the first thing we've got to do is, of course, we go to orientation, and the first thing we got to do is hire chief of staff. And we were very fortunate in that the Max Burns is chief of staff, who represented the 12th district back in early 2000. His chief of staff, Tim Baker, decided that maybe he wanted to come back to the 12th district, and he was working for Tom Graves. And so Tim's been there quite a while. He's got a tremendous reputation in Washington, and he was actually trying to help me find a chief of staff, and lo and behold, he calls me. I told him, "Tim, I'm going to decide on Monday," and that was on a Friday. He calls me on Sunday night, and he said, "Can we have breakfast Monday morning?" I said, "Sure." So he had thought about it a little bit, and he said, "What do you think about this?" And of course, that hiring decision was pretty easy, because he knew the 12th district. He has worked the 12th district for years, back in the early days, and of course his reputation was why we were able to get the quality of folks on our staff in Washington. And I will tell you without hesitation that we have the best staff in the United States Congress. There's no question about it. I will tell you that there are other members of Congress who call our office if they need a White House tour. Now I'm going to tell you, the President and I aren't getting along too good. The only reason we get White House tours is my wife. Now, my wife has actually met the President. And, they wanted folks to move along. Well, he was quite interested in my wife, Robin, and her interest. And then she met some of his staff, and she has become dear friends of the director of White House tours. Now, don't print this in the newspaper or put it on anything, but it is quite amazing when we need a slot and there's all of a sudden a cancellation and we get that slot. Isn't that amazing how that works? But no, the bottom line is, if you need something done, talk to Robin, okay? And she's free to do whatever she needs to do. And I tell her, "Honey, don't tell me about it, okay? I don't even want to know about it." But anyway, just to tell you what we've been involved in here today is we had earlier the ribbon cutting at our Dublin office, and of course we had a great crowd there. And just to tell you a little bit about some of the responsibilities that are huge when it comes to being your congressman, and that's constituent services. Because if you'd have told me 90% of our time and our staff's time we're going to be dealing with issues related to folks that work for you in the government, I'd have said no way. But it's true. And, you know, certainly we need to improve that. But I can tell you, whether it's Social Security, Veterans Affairs, or Medicare, you know, we're here to help. And we've got the team to do that. You know, every time I'm in the district, I'm constantly reminded of why there are so many who are in Washington who are recognizing the great work in the 12th District of Georgia. Let me tell you, my colleagues in Congress are envious of the 12th District of Georgia. They're envious of Georgia. And I'm here to tell you that some of those folks actually didn't want to go home for August. I couldn't wait to get home for August because I love getting out here and seeing all the great things y'all are doing. And the reason the 12th District of Georgia is doing so well is even under the circumstances, and it's been tough, folks. It has been tough because we've had a fight on our hands as far as politically how we want this nation to go forward. But it's been tough. But you know what we do down in the 12th District of Georgia? We buckle it down and get business done. And I'm going to tell you, from the north, where we will be the cyber center of the East Coast, to the south, where we're deepening the port, and I was down at the port day before yesterday. It looks like ants down there. In fact, I was told that, you know, California had all those strikes, and a lot of that business moved to Georgia. Those folks don't want to go back to California. Now that's a testament as to how we do business and what we. And by the way, tell Ben Hall and Jimmy Allgood they need to update their pictures down there. I didn't recognize them. No, I'm just kidding. Now you got two great members of that Port Authority, and I congratulate you on the leadership here in Lawrence County. That that port is. I just can't say enough about it, and I can't say how impressed I was at what's going on there. Then you're going up to Burke County. We're building two new nuclear reactors there. The first nuclear reactors built in this country in 30 years. And Tom Fanning, who is the chairman and CEO of Southern Company, was just on CNBC. And he was talking about how proud he was that although the plant has been delayed somewhat, you got to understand, this is a whole new process in building nuclear plants. It's component. So a lot of this stuff's being built off-site and being brought in. So there has been a little bit of an issue here or there, and they've gotten a little behind. But Tom said that, you know, they were expecting maybe as much as an 8-cent increase to get that plant up and running on our power bills. He now believes it's going to be half that, around 4 cents. And so, you know, I was excited to hear that. And when you see, we got any folks work for Georgia Power in the room? Okay. If you see your friends at Georgia Power, thank them for the great job they're doing. You know, I could go on and on about everything that's happening in this district, but again, don't give up. Keep working hard. Keep the faith, because, like I said, there have been many surprises. But I can tell you that I see a movement in the country right now, and it kind of started in 2014 with that election. And there's a movement to shoot straight. You know, one of the things that owners used to say about our company, and one of the things that I loved when we surveyed owners is they said, you know, we feel like we can trust you. And of course, you know, if we were having problems, I didn't keep it a secret from anybody. And I'd usually have to be the one to go in and sit with the owner and say, all right, here are the issues, here's what we're doing about them, and this is how it's going to affect the outcome. And you know, they said, hey, sounds like you got it underfoot, so good luck, and let me know how we can help you. And it was that communications process that worked so well. And what we're seeing today is a total shift in what was called the spin doctrine. People are downright sick of it. I mean, and we're seeing a whole new revival. A whole new revival in the political process. I think it's good. I think folks want to hear the truth. They want to know, okay, this is not good, and this needs to be fixed. We all know, for example, what it's going to take to move this economy forward. Everybody in this room knows it. Everybody in the 12th district knows it. The question is the debate on how we do it. In other words, do we put the government in charge of the economy, or do we put people in charge of the economy? That is the division in this country. Some people think the government is the answer to our economic problems and social problems and every other problem. And some people think that, and I know, that the private sector does it best. And that's my experience. And that's what I bring to the United States Congress. And there are 247 of us up there that pretty much think like that. And we've got, believe it or not, we've had some of the most incredible bipartisan votes that frankly, we all look there and can't believe it. But we've had important legislation that has been passed in the Congress with more than 300 votes. And when we send something with 300 votes on it to the Senate, that gets their attention over there. Like, ooh, you know, this needs to be done. We have, you know, I have voted over 500 times. Our leadership has said, we're going to get the people's work done, and we're going to go through the committee process. We're going to have the bills on the floor that people, you know, that we need to correct some of these issues that we have with our economy, with our veterans and other things, and we're going to send them to the Senate. And of course, the Senate has, you know, there's 200 over there, and the Senate has taken up, I think, 32. We're 2/3 of the way through the appropriations process. And we have sent no appropriations bills to the president. And, you know, so the process is we are doing what we think needs to be done. And that's all, frankly, we can do other than get out here like we're doing right now and saying, okay, folks, talk to your senators. Get that business done over there. And frankly, call the White House, for crying out loud. You know, the big issue that we have in front of us, going back, is this agreement with Iran. Now, as I said, I've been in the district for the last 30 days, except for a short time in Israel. And I went to Israel because I wanted to see really firsthand what those folks are up against. And I saw everything. And I'm going to tell you, you know, I was in a kibbutz, and there's a schoolhouse, and there's a bomb shelter by every residence, and a bomb shelter by the school. And just the day before, 20 miles down, they were lobbing missiles in. But I also went to see Iron Dome. And you talking about fireworks. In fact, they had, this is some inside baseball. I can't tell y'all anything classified, but I can tell you this. There was a wedding at a hotel, and during the ceremony at night, while they were filming the wedding, there was a rocket attack. And Iron Dome clicked in and knocked them all out in the sky. They thought it was a fireworks show. Life in Israel, folks. But, you know, the bottom line, and we met with the opposition party, we met with Prime Minister, and they're all together on this agreement, is that the one thing we can't do is give Iran $150 billion because they are the financier of all the terrorist activity with Assad, Hezbollah, and Hamas, who are the real troublemakers in that region. And so we'll have that vote, and I encourage you. Again, I was at a meeting last night honoring Jack Hill. How many of you know Jack, our senator? Jack was honored for all of his service. That was a great event. And a couple of our folks who are in the, what did I do there? Did it go out? There we go. A couple of our folks who are active in our campaign over there said, we're burning up those lines to the Senate to get those votes to override that agreement. And I said, well, I'm going to give you some names to call in the House, too. But we've got to have, crossover to get that thing defeated. It is interesting, and I think, and this is just news, is that the president is trying to get the votes in the Senate to keep it from ever getting to the White House, the filibuster. And I don't think he really wants to veto that bill. So it's going to be an interesting September. And I will tell you this, and this is not classified, when Prime Minister Netanyahu was asked the question, what happens if this agreement moves forward, he said, Israel will do what Israel has to do. I almost bought a t-shirt over there. It says, America, don't worry, Israel's got your back. And because I tell you what, in the weapons development area, they lead the world, and they lead it with most of our American companies. I saw some stuff rolled out that I can't tell you about that would make President Reagan's Star Wars speech come true. There's some neat stuff, like I said, that our military are doing. And do we have veterans here today? I always like for our veterans to stand up and be recognized. Veterans, can y'all stand up and let's give you a hand? All our veterans, stand up. Let's give you a hand here. As I said, I serve on the Ag Committee. In fact, I want to tell you a quick story. The last time I was in Lawrence County, I think we've been here about 4 times since the last 7 months, because we're not going to miss the March, all the St. Patrick's Day festivities. We love being here for that, and the pancake supper. Yeah, that's and I never bring my wife to the pancake supper, so I can eat all the pancakes I want to eat. But first time we were down here, in fact, we were working on a bill I want to tell you about. I'm on education and workforce also, and I want to tell you about this bill coming out of education and workforce that I think you'll like and be proud of. But we're working on a bill, H.R. 5. Basically, we call it the Student Success Act, and what it does is block grant the money from from the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education. It's about 11% of the funding for the Georgia school system. And we're going to block grant that money and do away with No Child Left Behind. Now, I know your teachers are going to be disappointed about, you're not going to have those compliance requirements, at least on the federal level, anymore. But we want to get the Secretary of Education out of the classroom. Well, I'm down here, and I'm talking to a 3rd grade class. And I was talking about the bill. And, of course, they were getting a little bored, obviously, and because they wanted me to give them some inside baseball. So I said, all right, I want to tell you about the other committee I serve on, and I'm going to let you guess what committee that is. And I said, I'm going to give you a hint. It's the largest industry in the state of Georgia. What is it? This little guy raises his hand, and I said, tell me. He said, Walmart. I couldn't wait to get back to tell that story to my colleagues in Washington, but and I haven't heard from leadership, but I don't think we're going to have a new committee on Walmart, but probably over under Energy and Commerce is where Walmart might be. But anyway, that legislation did pass the House. It's in the Senate. We got a conference on the bill when we get back, and we've got hopes we're going to put that thing on the president's desk. So we'll be moving that forward. One of the pieces of legislation I'll tell you about today that I've gotten involved in fact, I am the author of this legislation, and we call it the Barn Act. But basically, particularly over in Vidalia, and we're big blueberry folks now in the 12th district. We're growing blueberries everywhere, but we got a lot of fruits and vegetables, and a lot of this farm to market program going on. And of course, we use the H2A program to pick that fruit and those vegetables. And right now, that is supervised by the Department of Labor and implemented by the Department of Labor. And frankly, the Department of Labor's mission is to employ domestic workers. So there's a bit of a conflict there to begin with. And so I think they try to do everything to make that program not work. And it is a real pain for our farmers. It costs them a lot of money. And, the Department of Labor doesn't understand the urgency of picking fruits and vegetables. I can tell you that, but guess what? Agriculture does. So I had the opportunity to meet with the Secretary of Agriculture. I said, what do you think about this? Would you be willing to take this on? He said, absolutely. Labor knows nothing about agriculture. We'll run that program. So I have a bill right now on the House floor called the Barn Act, and it'll be going through the committee. It's bipartisan. Sanford Bishop has co-sponsored the bill. I haven't checked with Cameron. He's not here, but I think we've got probably almost maybe 50 co-sponsors of that bill already. But again, this is to move that process over to the Department of Agriculture. And we also have revised the bill and updated the whole program so it fits. So these folks come into the country, and when they're finished, they leave. The paperwork's on them. We keep track of them. And again, the program works. And it works for our folks. I will tell you this, that I learned, one thing I did learn in Israel, why the Palestinians do want to live next to Israel. If the Palestinians were on their own, they'd starve to death. And that's because they have a worker permit program in Israel that works. In fact, I'm not so sure that most of the labor that I saw there were Palestinians who had permits. And we did look at the wall that they built and saw those folks coming over to work during the day. And then they go, of course, go back home at night. But again, that was good to see a program that works. And in fact, those folks are considered maybe to be enemies. But there are people that said, you know what, I'd rather eat than to hate. And so in fact, it was good to see that. But this program is important to our agriculture industry. Our farmers are excited about it, and we're hoping to get that done very quickly. As I wrap up here, I will tell you that probably one of the historic things that happened to me is when I was presiding. I have presided probably a dozen times as Speaker Pro Tem, and if you get bored, watch C-SPAN. You never can tell, I might be on there. But so I'm presiding, and the parliamentarian stopped me. And he said, sir, there's an announcement. And everything stopped, and the clerk got up and said, a note from the President of the United States. And these two folks come in the door under, they've got the top door where Moses is and the bottom door where all of the dignitaries come in to speak. They walk down like military, hand the clerk an envelope. And the clerk turns around and hands it to me. And I look at it, and it has this beautiful wax presidential seal on it. I didn't want to mess that wax up. And so I'm trying to figure out, and I said, did I open this? He said, yes, sir. So I ended up having to bust the wax, and I pulled out, and it was a letter from the President of the United States to the House of Representatives, which I turned over to the clerk, and the clerk read it. And then, of course, I had to ask the congressman to yield, and then I allowed the congressman to continue his debate after that took place. The parliamentarian told me, he said, that's been going on since 1880. And he said, you were here when it happened. And I don't know how many times that happens, but that is the way the president delivers a message to the United States Congress. And it was quite an eye-opener. And I really wish that, we can't use our cameras down there, but, and I don't know if C-SPAN got it, but I'd like to have that, for a collector item or something. But it was pretty special and very moving. I will tell you this, too. When we open up, and I have opened up the House, is the parliamentarian will stand there, and his clock is synchronized with the naval clock. And exactly at 10 a.m., you walk through that door. And you better be there, because they're not going to wait on you. But you know, y'all, the decorum and procedures are quite impressive. The order, the voting order, and everything is it's very moving, and it's emotional. We haven't gotten in any fights yet, but we've gotten into yelling contests. And you know, when you it's amazing when folks decide that they want the clock to stop on a vote. One side or the other, whoever's got the most votes starts saying, "Close the vote, close the vote." So you'll hear some things like that. But other than that, you know, we're pretty civil. You know, I've heard a lot from our constituents over this period of time. And Guy, thank you for letting me have some fun with you. But you know, what I try to do is I try to stay in touch. And the thing that I don't want to do is I don't want you talking among your friends about something that is, if I could talk to you for a few minutes, I could probably get you on the right track. Because what I've seen is the biggest problem, and I told our leadership this, is the biggest problem we've got is a messaging problem. And, you know, we need to be in contact and communication with our constituents. That is the purpose of why I'm here today, is to give you a little bit of a background on what's going on. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But, you know, I want to hear from you. And if you're having issues, you know, I know it's easy to talk about those over coffee at McDonald's or wherever you go in the mornings. But, you know, if you've got something that we need to know about, that's what we're there for. Because one thing I want to be is I want to be a communicator. And, you know, we're not going to always agree. And I'm going to be able to probably give you some background on, okay, this is the way it works. I will tell you this, there are no silver bullets. And it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Everything is grunt and grind. You know, and I think our forefathers maybe designed it that way. And it's all, like I said, it's very diverse opinions because we have a very diverse nation. But again, I'm looking forward to receiving your input. I'm very grateful and privileged to serve you. Like I said, folks in Congress are very envious of the 12th District of Georgia. And like I said, I love coming home. I love visiting these schools and visiting these clubs and see all the great work you're doing. And I congratulate you on it. It's a privilege to serve you, a privilege to be with you here today. And thank you so much for honoring me as your member of the United States Congress. Thank you very much.